Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bashem and Mashiach Yahushai. I'm a servant Ariel Yasharala, and I was going to do this lesson titled Love with a Pure Heart. And I'm going to start with the book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 10. And it reads, They hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. So the prophet Amos is letting it be known that when people are rebuking and telling people what they need to do and how they need to live according to Yahweh's standards, you're going to be hated. And it says, and they abhor, which means hate also, they abhor them that speak uprightly. So I wanted to open up with this because a lot of people, it doesn't rub them well when you're telling them what they need to hear, but what they want is what they want you to give them smooth words and what they want to hear, but what they need to hear, they don't want. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of James, and I'm going to go to chapter 2, and I'm going to read verse 1 through 13, and it reads, My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Hamashiach Yahushai Christ, the Lord of glory, with respect to persons. So James was like saying, did he do this? Did he show respect to persons? No, he didn't do that. Verse 2, For if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel, and there come into also a poor man in vile raiment, and you have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, the nice looking clothing, and say unto him, Sit thou there in a good place, and say to the poor, Stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool. Verse 4, Are you not then partial in yourselves and are become judges of evil thoughts? So James is making it clear that we're not supposed to be doing this. We're not supposed to treat people with bias, partiality, and no different towards each other. Verse 5, Hearken, my beloved brethren, hath not Yahweh chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom which he hath promised? Salakia, he hath promised to them that love him. Verse 6, But you have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seat? Verse 7, Do not they blaspheme that worthy name by the which you are called? Verse 8, If you fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, you do well. So he says, if you're loving your neighbor as yourself, you're not going to treat him no different than yourself. You're not going to go want to mess with his wife. You're not going to want to go steal with him. You're not going to treat him any different than how you would want to be treated. Like Yahushua said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And verse 9, but if you have respect to persons, you commit sin and are convinced of the law as a transgressor. That was verse 9. Now this is verse 10. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. Verse 11. For he that said, do not commit adultery, said also, do not kill. Now if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. Verse 12. So speak ye and so do as they that have Salakia, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. For he shall have judgment without mercy, that has showed no mercy, and mercy rejoices against judgment. So the Lord is he's going to judge everybody according to their ways, in other words, and according to the fruit of their own doings. And from there, I'm going to stay in the book of James. I'm going to go to chapter 4, and I'm going to read down to verse 10 through 12, and it reads, Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Verse 11, speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judges his brother, speaketh evil of the law, and judges the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. So we're not supposed to be doing this to each other. And children are supposed to honor their parents. And honoring their father is first and foremost honoring the heavenly Father. And the mother is wisdom. But he did give earthly parents. So he put that one with a promise. He said to honor your father and mother so that your days may be long upon the earth. Verse 12, there is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who art thou that judges another? And shalom to Yasmin and Naomi. Shalom to the Akwats that came in. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of 1 John. The book of 1 John. And I'm going to go to chapter 3. And I'm going to read verse 18 to 21. And it reads, verse 18, my little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. So he's like saying, let's not just talk about it. Let's actually be about it. Let's do what we're going to say we're going to do. Verse 19, and hereby we know that we are of the truth and shall assure our hearts before him. Verse 20, for if our heart condemn us, Yahweh is greater than our heart and knoweth all things. So if you're being condemned and feeling a certain way in your mind, which is the heart, then that's the Most High dealing with you because he's greater than our hearts. Verse 21, beloved, if our heart condemn us, 21, Salakia, beloved, if our heart condemn us not, then we have confidence towards Yahweh. And shalom to Rahel. Sister Rahel just got in. So we have confidence towards Yahweh if we're not being condemned. And from there, I'm going to go to 1 Timothy. The book of 1 Timothy, chapter 1. And I'm going to read starting at verse 5 and go to verse 9. And it reads, now the end of the commandment is charity out of a pure heart and of a good conscience and of faith unfeigned. So this is why I titled this. We have to love out of a pure heart, not just, using lip service. We have to actually be doers of what we're saying. Verse 6, from which some having swerved have turned aside unto vain jangling. Some people have turned from the truth. And now a lot of them are just going with the imaginations of their heart. They're not going as it is written. They take the precepts and then they'll do what they think it's supposed to be, but it's not as it is written. Verse 7, desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say, nor whereof they affirm. Because remember, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. He said, a good understanding have all they that do Yahweh's commandments. So a lot of times people, they don't get it because they're not fearing the Lord. They stand in the mud and the mire. They keep sinning. So that's why they're not understanding what he's actually telling them. Verse 8, but we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. So the law is good if you're using it, you're being obedient to what Yahweh Shai is saying. Verse 9, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers. You know that in 1 John, he actually says murdering is when you're hating on your brothers too. He says, that's a form of murder. It's not just always shooting or stabbing someone, but just hating on them and just hating, saying bad things, tearing them down, bringing that house down. You're murdering them. And people doing that to their parents, their dads or moms, earthly parents. That's murdering them. Verse 10, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, homosexuals, for men stealers, for liars, for pervert persons, if there be any other such thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. I went to verse 10, and these are the things that, he doesn't want us to do. He wants us to stay obedient and keep our hands clean and continue to run this race with endurance, looking unto a Mashiach Yahushua, which is the author and finisher of our faith. And from there, I'm going to go to 1 John, the book of 1 John, chapter 5 and verse 3. And it reads, for this is the love of Yahweh, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. So his commandments are not hard. It's just a lot of people, they seem to make it hard. But remember, he said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. And I'm going to go to that precept in John 14. That was the next one on the list. So I'm going to bring that out because this is all Yahushua speaking. John 14, verse 15. And it reads, if ye love me, keep my commandments. It's just a little precept that packs a really big punch. Yahushua is just making it known that if we love him, we'll keep his commandments. And shalom to the sister Dorothy just came into the chat. Shalom, Aqua. Shabbat shalom. Good to see you. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 8. Book of Proverbs, chapter 8, verse, and I'm going to start at 17 and read to 18. And it reads, I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. So this is Yahushua making a bold and strong statement. He says, I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. And remember in John 14, 15, he says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Then verse 18 reads, riches and honor are with me. Yeah, durable riches and righteousness. So this is what you're going to get. You're going to get the riches. You're going to get the riches from him. Get the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding out of the scriptures. And shalom to Elder Yasharallah that came in. Shalom, my beloved Elder Yasharallah. Good to see you. And so that's what we want. We want to remember Yahushua said, and right there in Matthew, he said, where your heart is, where your treasures are, there your heart is also. So that's why we always got to keep our mind on things that are above, and keep our minds on things that are of good rapport, things, that are of good virtue, where Christ is seated on the right hand of Yahweh. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 10 through 11. Remember, he says, I love them that love me. That's what he said. He says he loves them that loves him. Now in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 10 and 11, it says, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. So this is what the Lord said. The ones that hate him, he's going to repay them back. And verse 11, thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments, which I command thee this day to do them. So this was back in the time of Moses. So it applies to this day. He said it this day back in that time, back in the time when he brought our people out of Egypt, but it still applies to this day today. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Psalms, chapter 17. Book of Psalms, chapter 17, and I'm going to read verse 1 through 3. and Salakia family, I just been a little winded with my asthma. So Salakia, my voice sounds a little funny. So Psalm 17, verse 1 through 3 reads, a prayer of David. Hear the right, O Lord, attend unto my cry. Give ear unto my prayer that goeth not out of feigned lips. Remember in Timothy, he says we got to do this love unfeigned. We have to do it with a pure heart. Verse 2, let my sentence come forth from thy presence. Let thine eyes behold the things that are equal. So he likes a just balance. He says the things that are equal. And verse 3 says, thou hast proved my heart. Thou hast visited me in the night. Thou hast tried me. He tries our reins and our hearts. So he knows what's going on in our minds. It says, let me read 3 again. Thou hast proved mine heart. Thou hast visited me in the night. Thou hast tried me and shall find nothing. I am purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. And this is what we should want. We should want everything that comes out of our mouth be edifying and uplifting, like it says in Ephesians, so that it may minister grace to the hearers. We should always speak the oracles of Yahweh. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Acts, chapter 15, and I'm going to read verse 7 through 11. Acts chapter 15, verse 7 through 11, and it reads, and when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, men and brethren, you know how that a good while ago God made choice among us, that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the words of the gospel and believe. Verse 8, and God, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving the Holy Ghost, even as he did unto us. Verse 9, and put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. Now, when he's talking about the Gentiles, I was talking about the Israelites that were scattered. That was the the northern kingdom that was scattered away from the southern kingdom. And so let me read verse 9 again. And put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. Because what is faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, but the evidence of things not seen. It says that in Hebrews. And then verse 10. Now, therefore, why tempt ye Yahweh to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? So they were asking, why put all these burdens on their neck? Verse 11. But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai, we shall be saved, even as they. We shall be saved. Remember, it says, he that endureth to the end shall be saved. So people saying they're saved already, here's another one in the book of Acts 15, verse 11, saying that, let me read that again. But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai, we shall be saved, even as they. So we have to continue running the race with endurance to be saved. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 13, verse 8 through 9, and it reads, and thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. Verse 9, and it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. And I'm just going to read the next one, 10. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. So we're supposed to keep the feast days. We're supposed to keep the Sabbath. We're supposed to keep doing the laws, the statutes. This is what he gave us from the foundation of the world, and we're supposed to continue in it. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Psalm 66, Psalms chapter 66, and I'm going to read verse 12 through 14, and it reads, thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but thou brought us out into a wealthy place, brought us out of the land of Egypt, and Moses led our people to the land of milk and honey, but he didn't make it, but Joshua continued with it. Then verse 13 reads, I will go into thy house with burnt offerings. I will pay thee my vows. So we got to continue doing the things that we said. Because when Moses came back with the law, statutes, and commandments from Mount Sinai and Horeb, the people said, all these words we will do. So that was the vows we made. So that was Exodus 13. And let me, that was Salakia, that was Psalms 66, 12 through 13. Let me read verse 14. 14, which my lips have uttered and my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble. So when he's always a help in a time of trouble. He says he'll never leave us nor forsake us. He'll be our shield and our buckler, our fortress and our refuge. He'll be that very present help in a time of trouble. So he'll answer us when we're calling if we're being obedient. And from there, I'm going to stay in Psalm 66. I'm just going to jump down to verse 16 through 20. And it reads, come and hear, all ye that fear Yahweh, and I will declare what he hath done for my soul. Verse 17, I cried unto him with my mouth, and he was extolled in my tongue. So once we cry and we're being afflicted, and he always answered our people, no matter what captivity we were in. If we were in the Egyptian captivity, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Medes, he always answered when we started to obey the laws. Verse 18, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. So now he says, if we're not being obedient to the laws, he's not going to hear us. Because remember in John 9 and 31, he says, he does not listen to sinners. But if any man be a worshiper of Yahweh and doeth his will, him he heareth. So let me read verse 18 again. It says, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. Verse 19, but verily Yahweh hath heard me. He hath attended to the voice of my prayer. Verse 20, blessed be Yahweh, which hath not turned away my prayer, nor his mercy from me. Because David was a man after Yahweh's own heart. And that's why he answered his prayers. And anytime David was being obedient, he was victorious in every battle. He just messed up at the time when he went after Bathsheba and put her husband Uriah on the front line, got him killed. But other than that, he was a man after God's own heart. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 4. And I'm going to read verse 1 through 5. And it reads, let a man so account of us as of the ministers of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of Yahweh. Verse 2. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. Verse 3. But with me, it is a very small thing that I should be judged of you, or of man's judgment. Yeah, I judge not mine own self. For I know nothing by myself, yet am I not hereby justified. But he that judgeth me is the Lord. So Paul was like, well, I'm not going to worry about what other people think of me. All I'm going to worry about is what the Lord thinks of me. I just have to keep doing the work. And no matter what other people say, as long as I'm being obedient to the Lord, doesn't matter what these other people say. Verse 5, therefore judge nothing before the time until the Lord comes. So we're not supposed to really worry about what other people are doing. We should pray for them. Like he said, pray for the brethren and the sisters. Pray without ceasing. They're going off. That's between them and the Most High Yahweh. So let me read verse 5 again. Therefore judge nothing before the time until the Lord comes, who both will bring to light the hidden things of darkness and will make manifest the counsels of the heart. So anything they're trying to hide, they think they're getting away. The Lord is already seeing them because we're under a cloud of witnesses. And there's no creatures hidden from his sight, like it says in Hebrews chapter 4. But all things are open to the naked eyes of him to whom we must give an account. So let me finish that precept. Let me just read it without stopping this time. 1 Corinthians 4, verse 5. Therefore judge nothing before the time until the Lord come, who will bring to light the hidden things of darkness and will make manifest the counsels of the hearts, and then shall every man have praise of Yahweh. Once he cracks that sky, he's going to show everything everyone's done. So then you'll have praise of the same from him and him alone. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Matthew, the words of Yahushua, Matthew 25. And I'm going to read verse 35 through 40. And it reads, "For I was hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in." Verse 36, "Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me." Verse 37, "Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee at hungered and fed thee, or thirsty and gave thee drink?" Verse 38, "When we saw thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee?" Verse 39, "Or when saw we the sick or in prison and came unto thee?" Verse 40, "And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me." So if we're doing these things amongst each other, Yahushua is looking at that like we're doing it to him. So we're building up a nice account up there in the heavens with him when we do these things. And from there, I'm gonna stay in Matthew 25 and jump up to 31 through 34. And I'm gonna close after this. And it reads, Matthew 25, verse 31 to 34. "When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divided his sheep from the goats. And he shall," verse 33, "and he shall set the sheep on the right hand, but the goats on the left." So that's the sheep are the ones that are being obedient and doing the righteousness. And the goats, that's representing the people that have been wicked, been disobedient. He's going to put them on the left. And then verse 34 reads, "Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom of Slakia, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world." And that's what we want him to say on that day. We want him to say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into the kingdom that was prepared for you from the foundation of the world." But if people aren't doing these things, they're not going to make it in. The Lord is making this clear, what we have to do. And with that, I hope everyone was edified on this Shabbat. And I just want to thank everyone for coming in. The water to everyone. I love you all. And I just want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shem HaMashiach, Yahushai. Shalom.